This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program has been rated G and is suitable for all audiences. With us today on The Havery Show, we have a special guest, a living legend, a Sebring icon, whose name is synonymous with music for a whole generation of young people growing up in Sebring and Highlands County. The one and only Marlene Eures. Hello there.
Hello.
So nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know. There's so many places to start. Let's start with Marlene's music, because if you grew up in Sebring,
No, I did not grow up in Sebring. I'm from Lake Wales.
You're from Lake Wales. You're a Highlander.
Yeah.
We won't hold that against you.
I when we got married, of course, I married into Sebring here, and that was in 1955.
So is that when you moved to Sebring?
Mm-hmm.
So you moved to Sebring in 1955.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you open the music store?
Let me see. Now, we sold it, no, 76. I think I opened it in 76.
You opened it in 76. Okay.
And I sold it in 82.
All right.
Those short years, it was the biggest years of my life.
Well, they were fantastic years.
Yeah.
And your place was the place to go to get records. The only other place I know of would have been Crenshaw's.
Crenshaw's.
And they had a small section. They didn't have, they had electronics with some records. You had a record store.
Yeah. 8-track tapes.
8-track tapes, and yes.
And, well, y'all call him Rooter, but he come down, he says, "Can I help you put your stuff up?" And he helped me set up the shop.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would have gotten all those posters and cool stuff from the record companies and all that.
Yeah, I didn't buy everything they wanted to sell me, though,
Sure
because
not.
I had to make sure everything was nice,
Yes.
And so that. Then after a while, they'd say, "Oh, no, you won't want this one." And but it was great.
Oh, yeah.
And all the kids, that was right at the middle school and high school at that time.
That's right, yes.
And they would all come over, and I told them right at the beginning, there would be no fighting in here,
Yes.
no bad words, and if you want to fight, you go down the block, because I would not let my children go where they would. It didn't look nice.
Absolutely.
So they all did, and they were very, very nice with it. They'd come in, "I broke the strap on my shoe. Here's my shoes. Go back to school. I need lunch money. I'll give them lunch money." They pay me back.
Yeah.
They always paid me back.
Isn't that something?
But I took care of them.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, going into that place was nearly magical. I remember in particular there was I was waiting on the John Lennon Double Fantasy album to come out, and it was his first record that had come out in a long time, in years. And every day I got on my bike, and every day I drove down to your store. Is it in yet?
Yeah.
Is it in yet? I'm sure there were telephones, but there was something about hopping on the bike and going to your
Yeah.
store that was real
Well,
special.
disco come along about that time too.
It was that was on the tail end, and disco
because we
was
all took
huge.
disco lessons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was super popular.
Yeah.
And that was right where your husband's plumbing store.
That
Right below
was
it?
Fern and Ernie. Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and I rented from them. Ernie and Fern.
Ernie and
Yours.
Fern. So that,
But Hank grew up there since he come to live with them when he was about 12.
okay, gotcha. Gotcha. My dad worked for yours.
Yes, he did.
For a time. Do you remember anything about him? Because I sure don't.
No, you didn't. Hank then, went with the city and then the county, but he worked with Hank. And, well, your son asked me, we were talking about him, and I said, "I can tell you one thing about your daddy. He was very good looking." And didn't he pass away young?
He was in his 50s. He was,
Yeah,
I think, maybe
that's young.
57, about my age, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is pretty
That's
young.
what I remember about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have too many memories, but I do remember he worked there. And I remember he always had good things to say about working there.
Yeah, and there was the pawn shop down the
Oh, that's
corner.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't think of his Tamara Caldwell's stepfather.
Yeah, and there was the little fish store across the street.
That's right. Age of Aquariums. Age of Aquariums.
I mean, we
That's
were a
right.
community down there.
Oh, for
you know, and
sure.
all the people that lived upstairs.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right.
I wouldn't take any. That was a short time, but it was a big time in my life.
Yes.
But it had gotten to where the music, I didn't feel comfortable selling it, and I would turn the albums around on the,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you know, and the kids would come in with problems, and I'd say, let's sit on the floor and talk about that. I was always a floor sitter,
Yes.
and we'd sit and talk about their problems, you know, or
Yes.
whatever.
Wow, you got music, you got therapy, you got loans, you got all every full service. Marlene's full service emporium.
And whenever I sold the shop, then I went to Woodlawn, and that was another step.
Oh yeah.
That was another big step for
Who did
me.
you sell it to?
Goodness, and he was related to somebody else down the street too. I can't think of their name right now.
Yeah.
But he didn't keep it long, I don't think.
I don't remember much about it after after it left your
Yeah.
hands. And it was 80 what that you sold it?
82.
82. When I was the school DJ, that was around 84, and I got all my records from Crenshaw's at that point because you weren't there anymore.
Yeah, I was ready to move, and I called my aunt. I says, Aunt Ruby, I want to sell my shop. And I don't care if I leave with money. I just don't want to owe anything.
Yes.
But I want to sell it. Will you pray about it? And so she called me 2 weeks later and said, have you sold your shop? That's her faith, you know. And so I did. Within a short time, I sold it. And Danny called me and said, you're not working. How about coming over to school and help us with some children? And then later on, he hired me, and I was there for 22 years.
Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah, that was,
And that's when you would come over to sing to us.
that's right.
Every year, those kids loved you to come
Oh,
over.
it's still my favorite time of year. Christmas time and going to the schools is one of the highlights of my whole life.
Yeah.
And it was Danny that really got the ball rolling on that. I
He's the
started.
one that hired me.
Yeah, and I did a Christmas show. I did a couple of them at Fred Wild. And then I asked if I could do one at Woodlawn because my nephew, Shirley's son, Charlie,
Yeah,
was
Charlie.
over there.
I remember Charlie.
So I did one, and then the next year, I started getting calls from all the other schools. I'm like, how is this happening? And it was because Danny had thrown my name out there at a principal's meeting
Yeah.
and urged them to call. And now, all these over 30 years later,
I'm
still
trying to
going
think of
at
the
it.
song that you would sing, and the girls would just scream, Merry Christmas, baby, or
Oh
something
yes,
like that.
yes.
And they
we
would
used
just
to do
go
that
wild.
One. Yep, Merry Christmas, baby, and then the Dead Roach song. That's become my
Yeah.
go-to song.
We have a lot of good memories.
Oh sure.
I have more than you.
The old building, the old plumbing building, is getting turned into some pretty nice apartments.
Yes.
They have a nice plan, and it looks like they've started on it.
I still have pictures of the posters that was in the window at the shop, and Tim had made something up, and I have my card with Marlene's music on it, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody that come in there, and Pamela was a little girl. She had a little kitchenette set up in the back and played back there, and
Yes.
and they'd come in. Where's little mama? She was little mama.
Oh, little mama.
Little mama.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And Patrick, you know, he was in school, and he would come in. Then he'd have to skateboard up to the drugstore to get some ice cream.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So I was in the center where the kids could hang out too.
Yeah. Patrick, you'd have to look for a pretty long time. Well, they've timed out. But these frames here, I guess they turned off. They're electronic.
Oh.
And there's pictures of Mrs. Beans of Musicland.
Oh,
And
well,
Patrick is in
he
several
was
of those
just here
pictures.
for my birthday.
Was he? Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was coming. It was a surprise. He walked in, and I thought, who is this? I mean, I thought, he looks so familiar. Who is he? And then I realized, that's my son. And he said something about Mrs. Bean.
Yes.
That she was a wonderful lady.
She was. She really was.
And y'all all get together out on the lake at somebody's house, and I can't remember who.
Yeah, it was. They had the glass place. And I can see it as just as plain as day. I can see
Sinclair?
it.
I mean, not Sinclair. I know.
It's on the tip of
It's,
my tongue.
it's,
I'm sure they had the glass plate. I'm 90% sure they had the glass
and we'd
plates.
go in the backyard,
Yes.
and everybody would play.
Yeah, and it was like a wood kind of a dark brown wood
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, and they would have a little mini concert and
Yeah.
little food items and stuff like that. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was
We had a
was
good life,
time.
didn't we?
Oh yeah, and Mrs. Bean was so special.
She
What a
was.
wonderful lady.
She loved all of the kids. You know, they loved her too.
Yes.
You know, so
Yes,
we had a good time.
we sure did. Yeah. So 22 years at Woodlawn. Wow. Do you have a favorite era? Was there a certain time or that was special to you, or was it all just good?
I loved Woodlawn, and I went through a lot of principals. In fact, I just heard from what was her name, the principal Bowden.
Oh yeah.
She sent me a card,
Really?
and she lives in Kentucky or someplace, and she says, "What I remember is your retirement party." She come to me and she says, "Now you're going to retire. I want you to write something about yourself, and I'll read it." And I said, "No, I don't think so." And she said, "You're not going to do anything?" I said, "I'll do it myself." So it's a faculty meeting, and I went in and I put a house coat on over my clothes, and I went out. That's why I'm going to be retired, you know. And I gave each one of them a gift. Like Coach Bone, I gave him a jump rope, and when you turn it, it played a tune.
Oh, nice.
And everything that matched that we did or had something. And one day I went to school and I thought I looked good. I had my pin on, my flower on my and Ms. Balkman was the principal then, and she said, "Is your shirt on wrong side out?" And I said, "Oh my goodness!" And so I went in and I had to change it. And then isn't that terrible? I can't remember all their names. The lady that was in the office there, she come in. She says, "I didn't want you to feel bad. I just took my dress off and put it on wrong side out." I mean, that's the way we were, you know.
That's camaraderie. That's great.
And then they'd change it back, you know. Yeah. But everything that happened, it was fun, you
Sure.
know. Yeah, I really liked it. But when I had to go into that last class, you know, the EH class,
Yes.
it was I didn't know. And Danny says, "I know you can do it. You're the one I want there." And I said, "Okay." And I did like it.
Yeah.
I learned a lot in there.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
And that's when we got together with
That's
act
right.
training.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, that was at the bottom, the old cafeteria in the middle
Well,
school.
we were there, and then one time we were out at another house, someplace near the ball field or something. I don't know. Maybe you had already learned it all.
Maybe. I know
Because we had to take it every year.
that's right. Yeah, and there would have come a year when I didn't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that aggression control techniques, elbow control,
Oh, I said aggressive. Yeah.
ACT.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I liked that, though.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. You got to
I
throw each
would-
other on the ground and wrestle with them, and
I could take you. Well, that was one little boy come in one day, and he come by the house, and he was grown and married and everything, and he come by and he said, "I just wanted to check on you." I mean, and he was a little tiny thing in our room, and he said, "I told somebody that every time I had a problem, I'd go to Miss Eures, and she'd say, 'Let's sit on the floor and talk about it.'" He said, "She always sat on the floor with me, and she'd take you down if she had to."
Oh, wow.
It was fun, you know.
yeah.
So, and I've heard from a lot of the teachers and everything, so
Sure.
it was good.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Tell me about growing up in Lake Wales. Well, what part of Lake Wales?
Well, it was over near. Well, let me think of the names of the places. Is Manny's?
Yeah.
Okay, about a street over, and everything. It was on Bullard Avenue.
Okay.
It was my mother, my daddy, and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
That was the three of us, and nice neighborhood. I think I was about the only girl in the neighborhood, so I played baseball,
Oh,
I played
sure.
football, I played everything,
Yeah.
because my cousins, they were boys, so.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not. I love Lake Wells, and the Lake Wells, the group of us, and we did everything. We'd run to the play park way over there by the cross town,
Yeah.
and have picnic lunches. Ride our bicycle over there. You didn't worry about anybody bothering you.
No, not back then.
No, mother let me go, because, and we play on the stuff. And in the high school, when there was time for tests, a lot of times you have a big long break. We'd go down to the play park,
Yes.
and then we had to go down to the lake to take swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And girls, you didn't like that because you had to mess your hair up, And they had tennis there. That was a nice area. And of course, we knew everybody there, and you knew everybody at school.
Mm-hmm.
I was voted the wittest of the class.
Really?
And I went home and I said, Mother, guess what? I was voted the wittest of the class. She says, is that a good thing? I said, that means I'm funny.
That's right. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
When I think of Lake Wales, I think of
The Bog Tower.
Bok Tower. I think of oh wow,
Spook Hill.
Spook Hill.
Now, that was Spook Hill in the daytime. It's Smooch Hill at night.
Smooch Hill at night. But you would not know that
No,
from
no, I didn't
firsthand
know about
experience.
that.
Of course not.
But the Bog Tower, we got to go to the top of the tower.
Oh, did you really? That's I don't think that's even allowable anymore.
Senior class got to go up there. I'm glad I got in on that time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful inside.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And, on your dates and all, that was the place you'd go and you listen to the bells.
Yes.
It was quiet and
Sure.
it was a good place.
It's still a good place to take a date.
Yeah. It's changed. It's bigger, but I mean, the restaurant and all,
Sure.
it's all.
Yeah, they've added some
They
nice
had a lot
touches
of
to it.
weddings there and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the Passion Play. Mm-hmm. Seemed like we used to go to that every year.
Yeah. And I think when they closed that out, Daddy got one of the white horses.
Is that right?
And I don't think that white horse liked girls.
Oh, really?
He'd bite you.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
darn.
Yeah. And a lot of my relatives was in that. And I went to high school with the girl that played the part in it. Her daddy, Joseph Myers, wasn't that his
Joseph
name?
Myers, yep.
Yeah. Hey, I'm pretty good
Yep,
at
you're
that.
real good. Oh, yeah.
And she was a grade behind me in school.
So I didn't know that. They were a local
No,
family?
that would be in the wintertime.
Just
when
the
they
winter, okay. Did they,
I think they went back to New York or something.
something like that? Did they have a Passion Play in the other area too? And they did, I
I don't
don't
know.
remember that. Was Masterpiece Gardens in Lake Wales? Do you remember Masterpiece Gardens?
Great masterpiece. Yeah.
Was that also in Lake Wales?
Yeah, it was out north at. Do you remember that there was a place I never got to go to? It was a camp out there, and they had good food. Everybody would go up there to eat.
Really?
What was that called?
Oh, I don't know that. That's not ringing a
Yeah,
bell.
the Great Masterpiece
That was
on around.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it now.
yeah, the Last Supper, the big
Bon Air Hotel was on
Bon Air Hotel.
up there near the Great Masterpiece.
Okay. Okay.
If my memory serves me, and
I remember going to that place as a kid. I've got pictures of it with me and my mom and dad, my aunt.
Great Masterpiece.
Yeah, and we always knew it as Masterpiece Gardens.
Yeah. I'm trying to, it's been so long, I about forgot. Didn't they have seats that you could sit in and they would, I can't remember now.
There were, as I recall, there were like stadium seats, theater
Yeah.
kind of theater seats built in, and they had a big curtain across it, and the curtain would open, and there would be a story about
Wow,
where it
yeah.
came from and everything, and
Yeah.
then the curtains would close. I think they
It's
had
out near Alcoma, out on that section of
yeah.
that way out.
Yeah, and I think as I recall, they had a little train, and they had some small rides and picnic areas and things like that.
Yeah.
That was always fun to go to.
Because Mother and Daddy, they lived on Bullard, but my brother had a home out there on the lake, Kissimmee, was it Kissimmee? You could float over to Hatch and Hall. That
Yes.
restaurant over there.
Yeah.
And they took, and they had a little cottage out there, right on the river there.
Yeah.
And so it was out that way. Marlisa was out that way. Remember
Okay.
Marlisa?
No.
Ooh, that was the best catfish you ever
Really?
ate.
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody from Sebring and all around would
Yeah.
go up there.
Now, Chalet Suzanne, I remember that being an immensely popular place. I don't think I ever went. I think it was very expensive, as I recall.
Well, I went as a Girl Scout.
Oh, you did?
and she treated us there. And then I went back one time whenever they were having the convention, the Southern Building Code, and they were in Orlando, and they took the ladies there.
Oh, okay.
For lunch too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being out there.
Yeah, and the Black Forest restaurant. That
Yeah,
was on 27.
that was on 27.
That was a big deal too. That
Yeah.
Black Forest restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, fancy
Yeah,
stuff.
it was good, but I don't know that many there. I still have some relatives there and everything, but and I got married in that town, and
Yeah.
so, I grew. The church is just around the corner.
That's right.
I couldn't miss.
Yes.
to be there.
Yes. What makes me sad going in there is the Grand Hotel, and how that's fallen into such disrepair. That was a beautiful
Oh,
place.
at downtown.
Yeah.
I just saw on the news that somebody bought it.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot how much they paid. They're going to try to redo it.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be wonderful.
And as in high school, everybody wanted to work at the movie,
Uh-huh.
and I sold tickets at the movie,
Is that right?
and all the kids, all the boys did the popcorn and the candy and took up the tickets and run the projection, and everything, and the hotel was right there.
Yes.
And all those, is it Kansas City Blues?
Yes.
Is that the one that stayed there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
They were always hanging around the corners there.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. So the movie theater, is
was
it
called the
still
State-
there? It's
It's something else now.
Okay, but it
was
is
the
there.
State Theater.
okay. Yeah.
And that's how I met Hank.
At the State Theater? Mm-hmm. Really?
I was selling tickets, and he come up with a date, and he come out to, and we, and you know me, I talked, and he never come back with another date.
How about that? You must have made a very lasting impression.
Well, he would come up, but he didn't stop. And one day I told my girlfriend, I said, "Come out here and stand right over there. There's a good-looking boy gonna come by after a while in a yellow convertible." And he did.
Wow.
He would come cruising by in that yellow convertible with the top down
Yes.
and sprinkling rain. And the boys said, "Well, he's cute, but he's not very smart, is he?" Oh, goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
We went together 3 years before we got married,
Yeah.
I was 20 when we got married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember? This was not Lake Wales. This was Frostproof, but the Raymond Theater. Do you remember going to shows at the Raymond Theater?
I just went up the other day to have lunch with Peggy Bagwell.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow. What a nice family.
We were friends. Her daddy worked for Florida Power, and my daddy worked for Florida Power. Her last name was Jones, and my last name was Jones, but we were not related. And they lived in that big house on Clinch Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have to go to the dermatologist now.
Because of the sun. You were out in the sun too much.
Yeah, but we had a good time. And she called me and said, "Let's get together." And I went up, and we had lunch. And she's coming down next week, and we're going out to eat down here.
Oh, fantastic.
It's good to keep up with your old friends.
It
too.
really is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Do you remember at the Raymond Theater, the Sun Country Jamboree? Do you remember Don Smith?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
I just was curious. I like
Yeah.
to ask that sometimes.
But now, what are they doing with the theater? It seemed like I went there several years ago for some kind of meeting or
Yeah.
fashion show or something.
They've done real extensive renovations to it, and they're having shows there regularly.
Okay.
They're having bands and tribute shows and murder mysteries and things like that. It did get hurt in the last hurricane, and it was shut down for several months, but they're back up and running again.
Okay.
Very historic place. Very nice place.
Yeah, I don't know what I went to there, but I went up with Madison, my granddaughter, 'cause,
Sure.
she had something to do with that.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your family. I know your kids, but tell everybody else about your kids.
Well, I have Hank was 7 years older than me,
Hmm.
and I and Tim. All my kids are about 7 years apart. Tim, Patrick, and Pamela, and seven is our special number.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have Aaron is my grandson,
Hmm.
and his wife is Catherine, and that's Tim's son,
Hmm.
and they have two children, Aiden and Emerson,
Hmm.
and Patrick is his son, and he's married to Andrea. She used to be a queen,
Hmm.
and then they have a little girl, Amelia, and then they have a daughter. He has a daughter, Lauren,
Hmm.
and she works in the school system further down south. Like she's a psychiatrist or something. And her T-shirt I gave for Christmas, it said, "Keep talking, I'm analyzing you." That was
That's perfect.
that was our Christmas. We picked up certain shirts for each one that matched it, and it was so funny. And they had to stand up, and we had the biggest laugh because it fit every one of them,
That's great.
And now Pamela had Madison's her oldest one, and she worked at Advent Hospital, but she works in Jacksonville now.
Hmm.
And then Emerson, Macy, and she works out at the where the with Doctor uh, Barcardi or something. She's a heart doctor,
Okay.
and out the where they do the stress tests and all.
Hmm.
And then Cade was the youngest one,
Wow.
and he is working for a electrical company over past Winter Haven, and his wife works at the middle school over here. They live in Winter Haven.
That's quite a commute.
Yeah, yeah. But they want to get back here.
Okay.
After he gets through his apprenticeship and
Yes.
everything, he likes to come back in this area, And so Patrick, he only had one child, and
Hmm.
it was Ashley, and she loves Disney. They've been everywhere for Disney. They do all the stuff, and they have uh, two children.
Hmm. What a legacy you guys left,
Yeah,
you
and
and
one
Mr. Yours.
and the little girl's named Ripley. Ripley, believe it or not. That's why, because that's Disney.
Oh,
See?
that's right. Yes.
Oh, but it's cute.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
That's a real sweet name.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and they check on me all the time. Tim calls me every day.
Fantastic.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Tim pretty much stayed local, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Patrick, I think, did he go in the service?
He was in the Marines.
Yeah.
And he was stationed in Maryland on the Army base there, and he married up there, and so he just stayed up there, and he's working for the Army now because he's out of the Marines, and he's working for the Army, and he has something to do with all this nuclear stuff,
Oh, wow.
and he's getting ready to retire pretty soon.
Hmm.
And they won't come back down here because the wife that he's married to now, her children's up there.
Yes.
But they want to get out of the 2-story house.
Sure.
They're getting older.
That's fair.
It's beautiful up there. It's Conowingo.
Conowingo.
And then where he works is in Aberdeen, Maryland. It's right up there. It's around the Chesapeake
Okay.
Bay, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful area, too.
It is. It's really, really nice.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they're all doing great. And Hank did a good job raising them.
Well, both of you did. And what a stamp, what a legacy that you left.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the ripple effects, who knows?
Well, Tim worked for, he was with, growing up, he had to have a crew cut or a ski jump.
A ski
He said,
jump.
when I get out from under Daddy, I'm growing my hairline. Well, guess what? He went to work with Legree Smoke. He was a fireman. You didn't have.
Nope. Nope.
Then he worked for, he retired from the county.
That's right.
And so he has longer hair now and a beard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he looks like Grizzly Adams.
He's out there on a 10 acres, and he just do what he wants to.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So his wife works here at the courthouse, and I worked at the court. I worked for W.H. Prescott. when I worked at the bank, for 9 years, and so things changed, and I was ready to leave, and so I turned in my resignation and went home. Next day, knock on the door, and it was W.H. Prescott. He says,
No kidding.
"I hear you quit your job. Return in your resignation. I'm hiring you." And I said, "I don't know anything about your job." He said, "Come to work." So I went to work for him. And then whenever I decided, why did I decide to open up that music store? I didn't know anything about music, you know. Out of the blue, I just did that, and then when I sold that, Danny called me. I never had to put an application in,
That speaks volumes.
because to get a job at the bank, Valerie King, Joe King's
Yes.
wife, they were our best friends, and she got me an application, turned it in, and called me and said I was hired.
Just
So
like that.
that was a little town. Everybody knew you then.
Oh, wow.
But I enjoyed taking classes with you.
Yes.
Known you a long time, and your wife.
Forever. Yeah, absolutely.
And I enjoyed getting acquainted with Harrison the other day when I got to talk to him.
We couldn't be more proud of our kids.
Oh, now you have 2 boys?
2 boys and a girl.
Okay.
Technically 2 boys and a girl, but we call Charlie our own too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I my memory too, I was at a ball game and I went up and sat by you, and I can remember, it made me feel good because you turned around and you said, "Boy, this is Marlene." And I thought, "Ooh, I'm somebody."
Well, of course you are.
So
Ask anybody around here. They know who you are.
that was it. So, yep. So everything goes good, and I've had some 24 was a little bit more problems for me, but I don't let it can't get me down.
You just had a milestone birthday.
I did. Shocked. You know what I found out?
What did
I've
you
got a
find
good
out?
heart.
You do.
Because
you sure
I
do.
could have had a heart attack.
They kept it a secret then.
Yeah.
No one, you never did find out ahead of time.
No, we were just going out for the kids were going to get together, and we were going out for lunch. And that was strange to go out for lunch, but anyway, and then he said, "Just keep this date open on your birthday. You would go out." Finally, I called him. I said, "Well, what time are we going? Because I want to be dressed
Sure.
to go." And he said, "We're going out to Spring Lake, and we've been out there at Mother's Day, and that's beautiful. That big building out there." And I said, "Well, they don't stay. I don't think they serve food all the time." Well, they are now because it's close to Easter. So I didn't know that. So we went to the other building there, little
Okay.
building there.
Yes. Yes. I really wanted to go to that, and I did a thing for the Garden of Joy for the Pilates.
Oh,
And it
really?
overlapped.
Yeah.
But I was
You could have come at just 8, and everybody kept walking out and saying, "Who are they?" I mean, everybody. Now today, somebody come and brought me a gift today. I got another call today.
Yes.
And the other night, I was still talking at 10 o'clock at night.
Isn't that
The
something?
people that couldn't come
Sure.
had been calling me and everything. So,
Well, Pam was worried I was going to let the cat out of the bag because we were talking about having you here on the podcast.
oh,
And she said, "Whatever you do, don't tell, don't let on."
yeah.
So Dawn and I really wanted to be there. So I'm sorry we
Yeah.
couldn't be there.
Yeah. Well, you would have seen a lot of people.
I don't
A
doubt
lot
that.
of people, and when it gets that big, you can't talk to anybody very long.
That's right.
Like all my relatives that come, my cousins from Orlando and Lake Wales, and even my little flower girl that was in my wedding.
Really?
Yeah, she was there too.
How about that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Are you going to divulge which landmark birthday it was?
The what?
The landmark birthday? How many years? How old were you on your birthday? Are you going to divulge that?
I'm already 90.
You're
now.
90.
I turned 90 yesterday. And I started to bring a blanket that I got. Patrick and them had got. It is really neat, and it says something about "Happy Birthday, 90 years old," and it's got printed over here how many minutes that I've been alive. That I've been alive for 90 years. Then it had one for how many months I've been alive, how many, what is it, months, years, and all that. Well, I have to keep adding to it now.
Yeah, you will. You sure will.
And it was beautifully paint, flowers and all on it. So, and I've never seen anything like that. I would tell you how many minutes. I can't say those many words, that many numbers.
It had to be a few.
It was. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's very nice.
It was. And the socks had something that I'm not 90, I'm what, so many minutes or hours or something, or days or something, but they're all cute.
Yeah.
They're really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are some people from your time moving into Sebring up till now? Who are some of the people that stand out? Maybe some of the political
Well, when
people,
I moved to
teachers?
town, of course, I was dating Hank. So the first people I got acquainted with was Jim and Bob Stroll.
Mhm.
And, Bob become the highway patrol. And then Miriam Stroll, she married Jim Stroll. And because they were all, and I went to their weddings. And Joe Urkerly, and he was a good friend. And I went to their wedding, and it's just all these young couples, and they had invited me to join the Junior Women's Club.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, of course, you had to be asked back then to join,
Sure.
And so I joined that, and and Wayne and Sandra Harris, and we were outstanding members one year, Sandra and I, and different things, And we always had the Grand Prix Ball.
That's right.
The Junior Women's Club put on the Grand Prix Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And one year we were candidates, but for King and Queen of the Grand Prix Ball. But Joe and Val won, 'cause that was our best friend. And he was the new sheriff and,
Sure.
and everything. And the Smothers brother, the not the funny one, but the serious Smother, was there to crown
Really?
the king. And it was at Harder Hall.
I was going to ask where it was at.
Harder Hall. And the other people that was in there, I can't remember their names, but can't remember the others, but there was, all the Junior Women's Club people. We did everything. We had donkey ball games and
Donkey basketball.
football.
Was it football?
Baseball game.
Oh, I don't remember that. I remember basketball.
Yeah, we put on everything.
Where did you hold those meetings for the Junior Women's Club?
Well, it was down. They finally built that women's club, and we
Over
went
by
there.
Veterans Beach? Okay. Yeah.
And then I stayed in it until I couldn't stay any longer because I aged out.
Yes.
And then they come to me and they said they have a meeting, and I guess I had a meeting. They moved the ages up, and they said you can come back. I said, no, I'm already out now, and I wouldn't even have time for it then, because I was doing other things. And Tim was always in the walkathons every year. He won
those.
one year and won us a trip to Disney from that.
Really?
Yeah. And we stayed at the Polynesian. And so everything that took place, we were involved in this county.
Oh, yeah.
The band, Patrick was in the band, the marching band, and the little
Jazz band.
jazz band. Yeah. And we rode that yellow bus every place it went. And Pamela was just a tiny little thing, and she went with us. And then she went in the band.
Yes.
And so we followed the band for all over the place,
Yes, Mr. Fulton.
He
Chubby
started,
Fulton.
that was in middle school.
Yes. And I guess Mr. Gustat would have been, or would he have been gone by then?
I'm trying to think who was the other. No, there was I can't think of their names now. There was another boy, and he married somebody from Avon Park.
Chuck Fugate.
Yeah, there was Fugate. Yeah, Mr. Fugate.
Yeah. And Linda. Yeah, he married Linda from Avon Park, and they had a flock of kids.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Where are they at now?
They are in just outside Branson, Missouri.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yep.
they're doing great.
He was the one.
Yeah. Yeah, good guy. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Yeah, good guy.
We've been through a lot of people, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, we have.
And I've really, really enjoyed all of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't complain about my life.
90 years and kicking.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories you'd like to tell? Is there anything maybe that you would, something you would divulge that you might not have otherwise fessed
Well,
up
if
to?
you told me, I could have thought about it a long time ago. I have this lady at church, and she keeps coming to me, please write a book. And I keep writing down little notes. And I think, I don't know how to write a book, but if I could tell it and somebody put it together.
You can do that. And I've mentioned this on another podcast. I tried to do this with Reuter when he was in the Palms.
Well, I went to see him in the Palms.
Yeah, I would visit him, and we would talk and talk and talk, and he had the best stories. Mm-hmm. And so one day I walked in with a little palm recorder that I bought for him, and I said, Reuter, all you got to do is just tell your stories into this, and I'll take it from there. I'll get it transcribed, and we'll make it into a book.
Oh.
All you got to do is tell your stories.
Well, I was going to call Robert Gilbert. He wrote a book about his daddy.
There you go.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did. He's published a book.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to read that.
Well, he goes back to his house every now and then, and sometime he'll come by and he'll have his grandchildren on his go-kart, and they'll stop by. And
that's nice.
And he's always been a friend, you know. And Roy, he'd say, don't come to get your medicine when the kids were sick. I'll put it in your mailbox.
Oh,
So I did. He would always drop it off and go on
Yes.
down. And I think we would go down there, and that's when I learned to drink hot tea, because I've never drank coffee. I've never liked coffee. And so we went down for tea, and they had hot tea, and I had to drink something. And I learned to drink hot tea
at Gilbert's.
at his house.
At the house, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was always funny about, of course, I've never drank and I've never smoked or anything. So, and Hank was a coffee drinker. He had a cup in his hand all the time. And the only time I got it was when we were traveling and I was cold and I put my hands around it. But even going to church, he'd have a cup in his hand till he got there.
Sure.
And I never learned to drink coffee, so I never learned to make it because he made the coffee. Yeah. I still don't make it. I got coffee pots everywhere you want to look, but if you want coffee, you go over there and you make it. And at my house, we have a detached garage, and half of it is a grandma cave. And I've got the couches and wingback chairs, leather wingback chair. I got a chandelier in between the chair.
Wow.
And his workbench, I've turned it into a kitchen, and I put a false window in, a picture, and during the COVID, of course, I was kind of by myself, but I was out there working. I'd look over at the refrigerator, and Hank's picture would be looking. I'd say, I know, I'm touching your stuff. And so now that's where we have Christmas. We have everything in the garage.
Yeah.
Because we have a big door that opens in the back and two big doors that open in the front and a side door. And you can put the food in there and just go out. And we got a patio in the back and a deck. And on the side of the garage going towards the house, it's got a cover over it. And so I even had the men come and have a party when Carrie retired from the paramedics. They said, can we have a party at your house? I said, yeah.
Nice.
And so I got to see a lot of old retired people that had been there. And then when I turned 85, we were in the COVID,
That's right.
And so the kids called and said, Mom, we hadn't been able to see you in a long time. We're coming over. We'll sit on this driveway, and they'll sit on the other side because I have a grass area, and I got a swing in the middle there. I got swings everywhere. I like to, yeah. And so we're sitting out there talking, and all of a sudden the lights started flashing. I thought, oh my goodness, I know people that live down that way. The Liphams used to live down there. It's behind the Episcopal Church. And I thought, oh my good. And all of a sudden, and what was a blessing, the two paramedics that had the party at my house was on duty on my birthday, and they led a parade. And it was everybody from Woodlawn, Advent Hospital, Wound Care
Wow.
Center, and it was good for them because
Yes.
they got out and they were parked all the way down the road, down by the church, and across the road at the lake because
Yes.
they couldn't block the road, and they were flashing lights and blowing the siren, and
Oh,
I was shocked, th- throwing all my cards out in my yard.
fantastic.
That's the way to have a party. I didn't have
You're
to.
not kidding.
I didn't have to feed them, and I didn't have to clean up after 'em.
That's right. That's the way to go.
That was a big part. Well, they had sneaked in the yard the night before, and they put on black shirts and black pants, and they put this huge sign in my yard telling about my birthday, and they put pinwheels and they put little flower.
Oh.
I didn't know they were doing that, and they said, "Well, you walked by the window one time. We all got down on the floor,
Oh,
on the ground."
no.
I said, "Well, it's a good thing I didn't see you. I ought to call the cops. You'd have been arrested." They fooled me that year too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was a great birthday
Oh,
party,
yeah.
uh, and everybody, I just had a good life.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's
Hank,
the first movie you ever saw?
ooh, goodness gracious.
I'm really calling them down now. This is
Yes, you are really. Well, I could go to the movie anytime because it didn't even cost me to go because I worked there.
there you go.
But when I was little, it would be Saturday, and you had those Western things, and you
Yes,
had
the
those little,
cereals.
yeah. And I can remember sometime Daddy would be with me. I can relate to it now. And when the cartoons or something would come over, and I remember he'd turn and look at me and smile,
Yeah.
and I could understand how you would like to see your child, you know.
Absolutely. First car. What was your first car?
Oh, I'm going to tell you the first one I bought was after Hank passed away because we always bought them together.
Got it.
And I went down and bought, went to Avon Park and I bought a Ford Edge.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. That was, and the next one, I didn't have it very long. And I thought, well, I think I'll look. And I went down to Allen Chan. I was riding through and I thought, I was talking to this guy and he says, I said, that car looked good. It was a Lincoln. And it was right when they was changing, the year. And he said, why don't you try it out? And I did. Oh, I love that car,
Uh-huh.
But see, it had to have that glass top because that was my grandma convertible. 'Cause
Oh, grandma convertible.
and my Ford Edge was that way too,
Yes.
And so, and I can't remember his name. His wife was a teacher. They weren't married at that time, but she taught at Woodlawn. I think she was a music teacher or something. And he was so nice, and we would talk about it, and he would, and everything. And he said, let's just sit here for a while. Let's just think about it. He says, why don't we pray about this? Let's pray together. And we prayed together, and he said, until you make up your mind, And I got to take it out and let Tim look at it. And so I bought the car. And I went by Pamela's, and I went in, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I just bought a car. By myself. Tim wasn't even, and the kids wasn't with me. They were with me the first time after.
Sure.
That was my first one by myself. I still have that same car.
How old were you? This is not so long ago.
No, this car is it was when it was going into the 14. It was the 13.
Okay, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Wow.
I still got it.
You still got it, yeah.
And I keep it. Of course, it's kept in the garage.
Sure.
And but something's going wrong. It flips back and forth. I think it's tempting me. Sometime I'll back out and the tree's upside down. So the little camera must have done something.
Okay, yeah, huh?
Every time I get in, it's right.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well, some of the car, I don't know which car. I backed out and I turned too sharp and I hit the fender. I mean, run the fender there. So I had to take it out and get it fixed. And the man said something about, fixing the car and everything. So then the other time I backed. It's always in my. I don't get out on the road and have wrecks, and then and I backed out of the garage. And Tim said, "Don't forget, my truck's out there." And I said, "Okay." I backed right into that
into it.
truck. Didn't even hurt his truck.
Oh, yeah.
But it. And when I went out there to get it fixed, they said something. He said it's something about doing something, and I said, "Yes, I did. I even knocked the buttons out of where you back of the other thing. I mean, but they always fixed it.
Sure.
And
Accidents.
but this one, I've tried to be better.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Did you have a favorite teacher?
At high school and all that?
Any grade?
Any grade? I did. It was. She was not married, and it was a woodlot. I mean, it was at Polk Avenue in Lake Wales there, and I didn't live far from it, so I could walk to school. And then she married the coach at the high school. I can't remember. Miss Watts was her name then. But I can't remember.
What grade? Elementary.
Yeah, that was elementary. And then she married him, and he was a high school coach, Coach Cruz.
Coach Cruz. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get any flack from your Lake Wales friends marrying a blue streak?
No, though they liked him.
Okay.
And he was so much older than me. At first, I thought, I don't know. We went to the ball game. My first date, we went to the ball game in Haines City. And I'm sure Daddy was driving behind me because that was my first date with him. And everybody liked him, and so he just fit right in.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great, Every place, all my relatives, we were all very close. And every time you'd meet them, it was like they were so glad to see you. They made you feel was glad.
Yeah.
And my mother, oldest brother, was a Church of God preacher. And her youngest brother was a Church of God preacher.
Really?
And he, from Avon Park, and he got a scholarship to go play for the Gators. But he turned it down because he went to Tennessee to the Church of God college up there, and he sang with all different quartets. He was a great singer, Arnold Godwin.
Really?
Yeah, and he sang all around. And every time when I was growing up, before I got married, when they would sing at Lake Wales, we fed them all. So I knew all the quartets and everything, and Vep Ellis, his nephew, and all of them. So yeah, I had a rounded life.
You sure have. Is there any advice, any sayings that you would encourage young people or people in general with? Any words to live by that you've?
I don't know
used?
what come to me. As Macy said, I told somebody one time, my mama never drank and she never did smoke and she loved Jesus. That was it.
There you go.
Yeah. And I'm proud that they know that, and I do the prayer chain at church. And I was doing the door, but this man, he's enjoying it so much. And I thought, he's enjoying it so much. And I only substitute when he calls me if he needs me. And so I just, stay and do the church. And we do something all the time. I've never seen people eat so much in my life. The ladies go out, and then we have meetings. And then the other day we was in a revival, and after the 10 o'clock service, we went back and we had a big dinner.
How about
And then we went back to church that night.
Now, what is your church?
Living Waters
Church of God.
On Sparta Road.
Sparta.
And then we had the revival, and on Wednesday night was the last of the revival. And we got out. We had a surprise birthday party for our preacher. He turned 40.
Wow. Who's your preacher?
His name is Brandon Roberts. He was from around Clewiston and in that area. Yeah, and when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, he come down and got a hotel room in the hotel we stayed for 2 days.
Is that right?
I told him, I said, you don't have to come. My family, all my family was with me, and he stayed. And we had the best. He called me the next day after I got home, and he said, "I wanted to call and check on you." I said, "We had a good time while we were down there, didn't we?" He said, "We sure did." I was not afraid at all because I know that I had been prayed for at church the last night of the revival, and the evangelist was from Alabama. I didn't know it, but I told him that I had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and he prayed for me. And there was another preacher, and he was from around Lake Placid, and he told that man, he says, when I walked past when you were praying for that lady, I got the warmest feeling, and I know she was healed.
Wow.
And so I chose not to, to do radiation or anything. At my age, uh, I don't think it was slow growing and everything. And that doctor down at Jupiter, that was the nicest man, Dr. Reimer. And then after I did that, another lady was diagnosed, and so she called me every day, and I told her where we stayed and gave her the address and the name of the doctor. And the doctor out here at this hospital, when I called her one day and I says, my daughter said she heard the name of a doctor that my friend's mother went to, and she says, oh my goodness, he is wonderful. I'm going to call him and tell him to call you. And so it just kind of took away a lot of things that I had to do. It was just went right. And that was in May. And so then, and then I slept on the banana pill, and
Okay.
that was the next thing.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
Then, and then I slept on the banana pill, and
Okay.
that was the next thing.
We've all seen it in a million cartoons and comedies.
I'm a cartoon now.
You actually slipped on a banana. Can you walk me through that? Where were you? Where was the banana? How did it
I had
sneak
to go
up
to the
on you?
cancer center to have blood work. Well, Tim had been going with me every time I went to a doctor. He went with me. Thank goodness he can remember things. If it's over with, I forget it. That's the past. And he went with me, and I said, Tim, I want to go to Winn-Dixie and get some stuff. I'm going to do my own shopping. He said, okay, I'm putting you out at the door, and I'm going to park the car, and I'm coming in. And I said, okay. This is an extra little story there. But I went in, and I'm looking in there where they had the pies and all this in that ice cream place, and there was a man by me, and he was in one of those electric scooters. And when Tim walked in, he hollered, Mom! And I turned around, and that man, he was right at me, and I don't even know if he was paying attention to what he was doing. And I reached out, and I grabbed that basket. Tim told me later, he said, I thought I was watching Wonder Woman. You grabbed that basket, and that front of that buggy come up off the floor.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, my reflections are I reflect. But anyway, I bought 3 bananas, and we got to the car to put the food in. I said, hand me those bananas. I think I'll eat one. Why did I do that? Because I only lived down there on the lake. I could have waited. So I got home, and it was kind of cool. It was in December.
Yeah.
December, and I was going to put my coat up on in the kitchen cabinet, and I turned around, and I must have dropped that banana peel. And when I hit it, I went back, and I hit the top of the counter, and I fell down the cabinet, and I was in the corner, and I was scared to move because I didn't know if I broke anything. And so I just laid there, and Tim started in, and I said, Tim, he said, yeah. I said, I need you. I tried to keep very calm because that's scary. There was, it was a mess at the cabinets and the floor because I cut my finger. I don't even know what I cut my finger on. And so they had to call the ambulance. And they come, and 2 fire trucks. I mean, if you're going to do it big.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
And so they took me out there. And the first nurse that come in, she said, I'll never forget you. And I thought, okay. She said, I've never known of anybody to slip on a banana peel. And so the man took me down to put me through that machine to check my head. They had to put metal clamps in my head, And he said, "Oh, you're the lady that slipped on that banana peel." Yeah. So they brought me back, and another man come and got me to take me down to X-ray my finger. He's, "Oh, you're that lady that's." They don't even know my name. I'm that lady that slipped on the banana peel. And when I had to go to prompt care, two different doctors come in. They said, "You're the lady that's." I mean, I don't think they even know my name. So, I mean, it become a joke.
Sure.
And now, once in a while, the lady that comes and calls me in, she'll grin. She'll say, "Slipped on the banana peel. Come on in." And then when I went to Jacksonville, when Madison, they had a big party for them, engagement party. Everybody I walked to, "Oh, you're Memo. She talks about you all the time." So nobody knows my name. I'm Memo up there, and I'm the lady that slipped on the banana peel down here. You got to take it as fun.
Imagine that. Well, you got to.
Yeah.
Coach Downing always used to tell me, sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying.
That's right. Yeah. and every time I comb my hair, and I think, "Oh my goodness, I think my hair doesn't do something up there. It must have been where they knocked out." But I was very blessed, because when I was looking in the kitchen one day, and I thought, "Oh my goodness, had I been taller, it would have broke my neck."
Yeah.
I would have hit that corner and it would have broke my neck.
That's right.
So I was glad I was short and fat.
Oh, my. You are one of a kind, Marlene Eures. One of a kind.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, no, you.
No, I was
After
just
you.
going to say, that lady that wants to buy my book, on my birthday card at the bottom, she says, "I'm waiting for the book."
I really wish you would pursue it. You don't have to actually type or write. All you
No,
have to do.
I can't even spell the words.
You don't have to. You can use your phone. You can get a little recorder from Walmart, $29, and they're dictators. You just dictate into
It
it.
takes a while for me to remember all of it, and I'll kind of jot it down. But Pamela said that Macy has a lot of things that I've done that she kind of got recorded on her, because she was with me at some of the things that we did funny things with.
Yeah. You just tell your stories. That's all.
Yeah.
And then you get them into the hand of someone who can transcribe it. And now with AI, that's all done electronically now.
Yeah.
It'd be so easy to do. So easy to write a book. So easy.
Yeah.
I've done two. I've done two children's
Well, my
books.
uncle
There's nothing to it.
He wrote
It's
a
easy.
book,
See?
and I have his book.
Yeah.
And another lady in Avon Park, Jackie Landris.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where she's at now or anything, but she wrote books
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't owe it to anyone but your grandkids and your great grands, and you would be leaving behind all these stories that otherwise may
Yeah.
be forgotten.
Yeah.
It's worth doing it just for them.
It's just little funny things that you've done with your kids. I remember going up to Lake Wales. I was going to go visit my friend, and I went in Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never ate by myself before. I never go in a restaurant by myself. I'll take it home. I just don't entertain myself. And so I was sitting there, and I kept thinking, I just don't think I can stay. I don't know what to do. But and she brought the food, and I went ahead and ate, and I went up to pay, and I told that lady, I said, I started to leave. I've never ate by myself before in a restaurant. And she said, "Well, if you come back again, I'll come sit with you." It was so nice.
How about that?
And so when I paid, I started, she said, "Just a minute." And she gave me 3 muffins or 3 something. And she said, "I'd like for you to have these." And, she gave me a gift,
Yes.
And so when I got to my friend's house, there was 3 people there. So I didn't even get the muffin, but I gave it to them,
Yes.
because they needed it. Yeah. And so the next time, all my kids were with me, the grandkids. We went in there. That's where they wanted to eat. And they got what they wanted. We went up to pay. And the man was waiting on me, taking my money. And so I was telling about when I was up there and how it was. And the lady gave me the muffins and and all. And so the kids picked out what they wanted. And I picked out something. And he says, "You're not paying for yours. I'm the manager of this, and I love your story." And so, of course, we got outside. I was kidding the kids. I said, "Oh, it worked again." We have a good time.
Yeah.
We really have a good time.
That's wonderful.
But people are nice to you, and they like stories too. It's just that all that And I love devotions. I did a lot of devotions for our church and the Presbyterian Church. And I met with them every month, and I always had to have a devotions for them, and sometimes help them with a Bible study. And when I do something, I want to give you something to remind you of what my devotion was about. It could be cars. It could be everything. It had a perseverance, with the cars, and they pass them on sometimes. They'll call and say, somebody come in, and I told them your story, and passed them on. And I've got a lot of stuff left over that I don't get to do it like I did because I don't. All of my friends that was at Presbyterian Church, they're not around anymore, and so and I don't know. I miss doing it. Yeah, and we live different than we did. You have to keep your doors locked all the time, and it's just times are different. You have to be very careful. Yeah, but I've loved my life.
Life well lived, and still living to its fullest.
And I told them, I says, when I die, there better not be a tear in that service. And y'all just get up and tell all my funny stories.
Yes.
They say, well, we might want to cry a little bit. I said, no, you don't need to cry. It'll be fun.
Yes.
That's what gets you through life.
That's right.
You can't wear on it, but that fall has messed up my back, and I have to go and have treatments, and sometimes it's hard to get up, but it's getting better.
Good.
It's going to be better.
Yes, it is. Every day. Just a little more.
Yep. But see, I told myself the other day, look, you're 90. You're not going to get well in 2 weeks.
That's right.
It's going to take a little longer.
Yeah.
So.
But you'll get there.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you've been in my life for so many years.
Right back
I really
at you.
appreciate it. And your wife and your family, little touches of your family, and your daddy. That's something in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more. I wish I remembered more about him.
I do
I've
too,
got very few memories.
They were working, and he didn't work there a long, long time, and then he died so young.
Yeah, he did.
After he left here, where did he go? Up north.
Well, he passed. He was here when he passed.
Oh, he was here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in sixth grade when he passed. Yeah, he was living in Lake Placid, as I recall. My mom and him had already been married and divorced twice. So he was
Twice.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was married 7 times to 5 men. So she double dipped on my dad.
Yeah.
And she double dipped on Shirley, Vinny, and Peter's dad. So she married Vinny Asciutto twice and my dad twice, plus the other guys. So yeah, it was an interesting childhood to say the least. But yeah, I don't really remember my dad hardly at all anymore.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah.
He was very nice looking.
Thank you. I have pictures. Yeah.
And he was, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, he was striking. Yeah.
Plumber. They had those muscles.
Yeah. There's a picture. I had a picture of him in my apartment in New York from when I was up there singing. And he was out in the front yard right next door watering the lawn with my brother Jimmy Havery. And my dad.
Oh, I don't know him.
Yeah, so there was my dad had Chris and Jimmy and Mark Havery when he married my mom.
Oh, okay.
And he was, I think, probably 12, 13 years older than her. So he already had 3 kids. There were eight of us all together if we were all in one room. So that was a chunk. But there's a picture of him out watering the grass with the hose because that's how you did it back then.
Yeah.
He had no shirt on.
That's
and
what
he
I
had
do now.
There you go. He had a great tan.
Yeah.
He was probably in his 40s at that point. And it just looked real good, just real sharp.
It's probably, well, Hank, they probably around the same age or something because, he was the plumber way back then. And well, he was 27 when we got married. So, and he was tan because they were out in the sun working all the time.
That's right.
Of course, I always kidded Hank. I said, you married me for my mother and daddy. He loved my mother and daddy.
Is that right?
And they loved him. And I asked Mother one time, I said, why did you let me go with him? I wouldn't let my daughter go with somebody. He was 7 years old. He was 24. I was only 17. And she said, because I knew he would be good to you. And she was a praying woman, so they loved him, so. And I only have one brother, so. And he worked for this attorney for a while in Bartow. He was a pretty famous attorney over there. And I was called for jury duty, and I thought, oh, they won't pick me because I'm going to tell them I know him. They picked me.
You thought you had an out.
I did. I thought I could get out of that.
Foiled again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's scary to be on a jury duty, and because I don't like to make decisions of somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I got kicked off a jury once. I
yeah.
I never had to serve.
Well, this one ended up to being a double thing, and when it was over, the judge said, "Don't talk about this trial until I tell you can." Well, I wasn't going to talk about that trial because I don't mess with the law.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him, Judge Kelly.
Yes.
And I saw him at the place out there used to be, it was Sonny's, but what was it? Fat Boys.
Fat Boys.
I went up to him. I said, "When can I talk about that trial?" He said, "You could have talked about it when you left here." I just didn't want people to bombard you.
Yeah.
And I said, "You made a woman keep their mouth shut for you." But it was funny,
Yeah.
And his daughter did all the flowers for our Pamela's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
She come over and decorated and did everything. Then Donna did all the flowers and all for the church.
Yes.
Because LaDonna's always been our friend.
Oh, yeah.
The paydays.
She's everybody's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd go on vacation together.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To the beach and everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet lady.
Yeah.
I had her on the podcast 3 episodes ago, I think it was, something
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah. And for Christmas, the kids bought me one of her paintings. She painted a picture for me.
Yeah.
And I called her and I said, "Donna, you don't know what this means to me to have a painting of yours in my home. That means." So she gave me one for my birthday.
How about that?
She painted another one for me.
She is a gifted artist.
Her mother was too. And so was Bill.
Yeah.
The daddy, he was just, and I got to know all their relatives from Tampa and everything. And so we were friends for a long time because she worked at, Mary started working with, remember the Hobby Hill girls? Lillian was the school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what was the one that had the Hobby Hill shop? But she was a doctor like Leatherman, Ava Leatherman.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's
They were
skipping
Army
me.
buddies.
Okay.
They were in the service together.
Gotcha.
And then Ava's cousin lived with them, and she stayed at home. And she worked around. And if we were going on a trip or something, she'd come down. She said, "Now be sure you put all your clothes out on the porch." And when I come home, she'd have them all done.
no kidding.
And back then, I didn't have a dryer way, way back, and I'd hang out clothes. They would be off the line and folded, and they're sweet,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
wonderful.
had good neighbors. Well, I didn't have very many neighbors. And the Haslingers lived way up behind us,
Yeah.
and the Paynes,
That's right.
CM Payne.
Mm-hmm.
And there was hardly any street lights out that way when I moved there.
Yeah.
And Hank we only had one car.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted the car, I'd have to take him to work, and probably I never even used it during the day. It's just, I knew it was there.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whole different world. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting. 863-385-5020.
Yeah.
Whole different
and
time.
Remember, I worked at the A&P grocery store. Oh, my goodness, I loved that job. And J.T. Landris was my boss.
Really? Mm-hmm. The A&P.
A&P. It was
Where
over
was
there,
the A&P?
right there by where downtown, the D's, right along in there.
Was
Well,
it A&P before it was Quick Check, before it was Winn-Dixie?
oh, oh no,
is-
this was right on Ridgewood there.
Oh no, I don't remember the A&P.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a little store,
wow.
and the man would come over from Lakeland to check everything, and he'd come in, he'd say, "Tell me where you moved it, so I
Oh.
can check it," because I like to straighten it up, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you who was the bag boys was Buck Gillian
Yeah.
and Craig Grable.
Gillian's. That's whose house we played at with Mrs. Bean.
Oh yeah, that's
The
right.
Gillians.
Yeah,
Yeah. It all
right.
came
Yeah.
around.
We can talk a while. We can
That's
keep
right.
talking.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and Craig Grable.
Yep.
And he was so mean to me. He would get there behind. I'm waiting on a customer, and he's making faces, trying to get me to laugh in their face. And they just picked on me all the time, you know. And so he grew up to be the chief of police.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, he retired, and he was with the sheriff's department.
Yes.
And he had the office down in Lake Placid. And Hank had an office down there too, with Sebring and Avon Park.
Mhm.
So he would work down there. So he'd always ask about me, you know.
yeah.
And so he said, "I'm gonna fool her sometime," and really did. And I forgot about it. And he called me one day and pretend he was somebody from Miami, and he says, "I understand. I've got a lot of complaints about your car. You've got a tag on your car that's very offensive to people. I'm going to have to ask you to take it off." Well, my tag said there'll always be prayer in school as long as there's final exams, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh my goodness. And it clicked, and I thought, I bet that's great. And I said, okay, if you want that tag off my car, you get yourself a screwdriver and you come up here and take it off. He just screamed and hollered. Well, that was the beginning. Then one day, when Patrick and them come down, he said, "Mom, there's an ice chest out on your front porch." Went out there, 2 frozen chickens. There was a story behind the chickens. It connects, but there was 2 frozen chickens and notes, and I laughed so hard. I mean, we did this for 30 years.
Oh, that's
now.
great.
And then later on, things go. Finally, I went down to Lake Placid and I bought Kentucky Fried Chicken. I said, we're just going to have chicken together. So we ate chicken. It was all related to chickens. And we did that. And I got one for Hank and all. We did that. And the last thing was when he had operation. I don't know. I think it's his leg or something.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember. I sent him a get well card. I put one little feather in it.
Oh.
And then he passed away after that, you know. But he would, after I got him back after the tag, he went to the sheriff's department. He said, do you think she'll do something? They said, "Oh, we think she will." And this just kept on for 30 years.
That's wonderful.
He was a great friend. And then JT went to work for W.H. Prescott.
Uh-huh.
And then when I went to work for W.H. Prescott, he was my boss again.
How
after
about
W.H. retired, you know.
Small
Circle.
world. Yes, yeah. Everything comes around, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I had known JT all my life. Because his daddy and mother used to live at the Bon Air Hotel and took care of that. And he played football at one time. He lived in Lake Wells to finish up his senior year, you know. And he went with a girl down the street from where I lived, and I couldn't wait for him to come by. And I'd get on my doorstep and wait for him until he walked by with, "Hey, JT," you know. And I would sit out there and wait for him to pass by because his brother was Scott Landris, and Scott Landris was married to my mother's sister.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that strange?
You talk about small town stuff. This is classic.
And they
small
were
town.
all Avon Park people, but mother and them moved to Lake Wells, and then when I was born, I was premature, and the doctor come to the house, and he said, "Don't do anything for the baby because it can't live through the night." Here I am. God had I keep saying, you know, I don't play instruments. I can't sing a tune hardly. I can't do anything. but he saved me for something.
Absolutely.
And if it's just for little devotions, everybody can't be the greatest person, singers and all that, but he saved me for 90 years now.
That's right. And what an impact you've had on so many. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
a
I
life
was
well
not
lived.
And then I had diphtheria after that.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, and a lot of then Daddy happened to be over in Bartow, and that was the only place they could get this medicine, and it was with Florida Power, and they got to bring it back for me, and it's just can't believe it, and then and it settled on my kidneys some way, and I run high fevers, and the men from the church come and told my mother, they said, we feel like we need to come pray for Marlene. And they prayed, and they left. And after this one guy come back, and he said, I need to pray for Marlene again. God wants me to pray for her again. And Mother said when he finished, there was not a dry stitch on me. I had sweated, and I never was sick after that.
How about that?
I've
Power of
always
prayer.
been tough. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You got to, and I'm glad I know all those stories. Yeah.
I'm glad you're sharing them.
Yeah.
Write the book. Write the book, Mrs. Eures.
There's 2 different kinds of books in there.
You got to write that book.
Yeah.
These stories need to live on.
But my mother, was a very good Christian woman, and our church. And you might say, when you go to you have these churches, they raise you too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
there's
take care
no
of
doubt.
and all the people and everything. And my uncle become friends of, and this guy, he plays the piano and all this kind of stuff. They were very good friends, and they would go to my aunt's house. My aunt threw a big party every year for her church. So I got acquainted with all of her church over in Plant City. and then they would all come, and I would talk to this man all the time, and I mentioned my mother's name. And he got home, and he called my uncle. He says, Marlene said something about her mother was named Audie Jones. He said, yeah. He says, that's my aunt's best friend. Now here you go again. And I'd have been, and Arnold said, well, she's my sister.
Wow.
He says, your sister, and we made that connection. And he still calls me. I call him on his birthday, and he's called me on my birthday. And he lives in Lakeland, and he said, I want us to have breakfast together. So I got to go over to Bartow, and we'll meet in Bartow and have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you make friends, and you're just friends, and yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. What come to find out, this doctor that works for Dr. Massier, she worked with him in Lakeland.
Really?
And we were talking one day. She said, oh, yeah, I know him. And so I gave him her number, and they made connection again.
How about that?
Strange.
It really is.
If I kept my mouth shut, I wouldn't know all that kind of stuff, But you do meet people and all. So, well, that's my life.
I love it. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for coming and being on the show.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking me. Although I was very nervous about it, I think what I was more nervous about, am I going to be too early? Am I going to be too late?
You were just right.
And it did.
Yep, it all worked out.
I started to speed one time around.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that.
No.
You did wonderfully, and I knew you would. And
Well, when I
everything
worked
was
at
just
Woodlawn, we were going to go to the convention in Texas, the Southern Bill of Code.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was on my way to Woodlawn to take Pamela, and that's when I had Marlene's music.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my little money bag and all that kind of stuff in there. And the cops stopped me. And, of course, Pamela started crying. I said, Pamela, I wasn't speeding. There's nothing wrong. He got out and he said, your tags, you don't have a new sticker. And I said, oh, yes, I do. And I started digging. He said, can I help you look for it then? And it was in my little zipper bag.
Oh.
Had he not stopped me, we'd have gone to Texas, and the bag would have been because somebody else was running the shop.
Yeah.
I'm glad. And he even put it on for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a God thing because I couldn't have got out of jail in Texas. Yeah. And Kenny Long was telling me the other night, we were laughing because he flew me to Orlando to meet Hank because we were at a convention. He was at the convention up there, and I was just going to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
So, goodness, we got in that airplane, and he got this book out, and he'd turn these little dials up there. And he'd read a little bit, and he'd turn, and I thought, he's reading a book how to drive this plane. And he told me when he was at my party, you know, and he says, I still have scratches on my seat. He said, because when we got there, I said, Kenny, I have helped this plane up all the way to Orlando. My back was, I helped that plane up till we got there. And he flew back the next day, he and Frida, but I rode back home with Hank. But Hank loved flying. He got his license, but, you know, we couldn't afford a plane.
Sure.
But he flew with Kenny all the time. They were best of friends, you know. And if he said, I'm going up to Kenny's, I thought, well, I won't see him for hours.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of good friends, but that airplane ride, that was, if I hadn't helped that plane up, I don't know where we'd be.
I don't doubt it.
Yep.
You've been an inspiration to so many. Just forget accomplishments, forget accolades, forget all that. Just your kindness.
Yeah.
And kindness is in such short supply anymore. And thank you for always being kind and warm and loving and caring.
I do like people.
You do. It shows.
Like people.
Yeah, that's your legacy.
My birthday
Anthony.
party showed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking me.
My pleasure.
I hope I didn't tell anything I wasn't supposed to tell.
I think you did just right. Always wonderful to see you. Thank you for everything.
Stay in touch and
Yes.
tell your wife I said hello.
I'm gonna do it.
And if you need your help, I can help you take somebody down.
Oh, that's right. Elbow
I
control.
wish I could remember how to do all that.
You want to practice on me? See if it comes back.
I don't know that I could do that.
I don't
now.
have any banana peels laying around.
Yeah, I'm into banana. Oh my goodness! I wish I had not done that. I'd have been in, but I'm still okay.
Well, you got a good story to tell,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh, I've got a lot of stories.
Yes,
to
you
tell.
do.
Some, yeah.
Write that book.
I will.
I wish you would.
Okay. Let me. Are we off?
We're out. The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.